So you had just told us about the tips that you would like to give to the people who are going to or are trying to get in this field. And I think that's really going to help them a lot. And I would suggest everyone to take into consideration what he's saying, because he is quite experienced and he has mentored a lot of engineers like this. So that was one thing that I wanted to discuss. The other thing is that since you are like a pro on AWS, you have been selected by AWS in their community building program and also their APN ambassador program. I think that's really interesting. Just throw some light on those programs and community building.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm just a student, Shishir. So I just keep on learning the things, and that helps me to, solve many challenges and problems. And then people say the word pro. I just consider myself as a permanent student all the time. So for the first part where you asked about the APN ambassador, uh,
Mm.
for the APN ambassador, the path is a little bit different. It's kind of not open to public platform. I get this questions a lot of times on my LinkedIn from my connections, like we
Mm.
want to become an AWS APN ambassador or the partner network ambassador as well. So how we can do that? So I think this will help them, even though I have answered them separately. There are a few requirements. The first requirement is the organization that you're working in
Mm.
has to be the AWS partner. This is the very first
Okay.
requirement. Once your organization is a partner of AWS, your organization can basically give your nomination. You have contributed to some open sources, right?
Hmm.
What value you are giving to a community?
Okay.
Do you have any AWS certification? So the requirement is at least two certifications. There is a pro level certification or a specialty, and then one more certification. This is what the bare minimum requirement. And then the process starts where you are basically asked to present the evidence. For example, let's say you contributed to an open source project, you might have some pull request, or you might have written some blog, an interesting blog, right? About some technology like AWS, EFS, or Kubernetes, discussing how well they are fitting into the current scenario. So you share those links, and after those, some level of screening and a bit of discussion, you receive a confirmation for being an APN ambassador. So
Okay.
this is the path at a high level, what it looks like. But when you start this process, you'll get to know more internal details of the process.
Right.
So
So it's kind of a super exclusive program for experts, and it's not very easy to get into, right?
I'll not say very easy to get, but if you are passionate about it and you follow those certain criteria, and then your organization thinks that they can nominate you for this ambassadorship, or even an
Oh,
APN ambassador can nominate the person within the organization as well. Okay, even after nominations, you have to pass those criterias and all those contributions and everything. And then once you become APN ambassador, then also to renew yourself and to maintain some level of criteria, there is
mm,
again some sort of bar that has placed, because AWS maintains their quality, right? So they have to maintain that quality, and it has to be throughout the year. So
mm.
this is what it looks like being an APN ambassador. But this is cool because you get to know a lot of people around you who are your fellow ambassadors, right? The important part is the knowledge sharing, right? AWS
Mm.
keeps on sharing knowledge with the ambassadors, like what's coming up and how we can help the community. They ask us to help the communities who are working on AWS and their various products. So things get pretty interesting once you get into this program.
Okay. So I think the benefit of you joining this is that you get to network with equally passionate and experienced people, and you have a great credential which says that you are very good at AWS, right?
Yeah, you can say this. You're passionate about it. You're enthusiastic.
Mm.
This title can really show. But what I feel is being an APN ambassador, the first duty is to serve the community, help
Mm.
others to understand about the product and their various offering. We can host the various meetup groups and then help them like how the solutions can be effectively built over the cloud, and
Okay.
any concerns they have, because still people think cloud means bill and bill means chaos to the organization. So so
Okay.
I think now the situation is improving, but this is where we can help a lot of people.
Okay. And what about the community builders program that you're a part of?
So community build is something, it's
Hmm.
an open platform. You have to again fill their form. I think that form opens twice every year. You
Okay.
have to fill in certain information. When I filled it, they asked me about my contributions, why I want to join community builders, and then any certifications that I have, what are my
Hmm.
expectations. So a lot of question answers are there that you have to fill. A screening round, and based on your contributions and your answers, they grant you as a AWS community builder tag. And then they
Okay.
have another community of all those enthusiasts of AWS where you can again network and collaborate. And a lot of sessions are always held there about the product
Okay.
and services. Yes.
Okay. So it basically means if you're part of this program that you'll have a chance to, explore a lot and meet a lot of new people who are very good at AWS.
This is
Okay.
right. This is right.
Got
Yes.
it. Got it. So, sir, I know for a fact, like I have been a mentee under you, right, for the first 6 months and for the whole duration of my time in your team. You were a great mentor. And I would say that even after you have so many credentials, people know you more from your great mentoring. And this is something that people like me are going to have to do in our respective organization. Like we would also be having some new trainees that we would have to train. So I wanted to get your approach. Like, what's your approach and strategy on how to, get the work done by your trainees and how to nurture them, basically.
Okay. The key to be a good mentor, and how I know now I am a good mentor is because you are telling me, and I
No,
mean,
no,
the
no. I
positive
think
feedback
you.
I get. So, so the positive feedback I get from the people. So I think now, okay, I think I am now a good mentor. So this is how I basically judge myself. Rather than judging, giving self rating and self point, if people are happy with you, that is an important thing. So the key is to first understand your mentees, your
Yeah.
trainees. Try to understand if they actually love this job that they are doing. So if
Right.
you hire a bunch of people from some college or they give interviews and come to your organization, just try to understand whether they really love this job or it's just another job for them. This is the first key point. Let's say if this is just another job for them. Okay.
Hmm.
Now you hired them. Now it's a challenge for you, right? How would you
Hmm.
tackle with such problems, sir? Luckily for me, you guys and most of the people I have trained were already interested. So less has to be applied. But
Yeah.
for those who really don't know why they are here, okay, so
Hmm.
just throw some technological challenge in front of them, right?
Hmm.
And let them think around it. Just give them a day or two, and then just let them think whether they can come up with some solutions or not. Let them come up with some solutions, right? So
Okay.
this will generate some kind of interest within them, because the tendency of a human is, if we do something and the result is positive, we think ठीक है, इतना बुरा भी नहीं है, अच्छा है.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
this is where you just ignite something within them, and this
Yes.
is very important. This is how I start with, if I get a chance to train some people. And when you give them a training, right, let's say आप कुछ उनको कुछ specific topic के बारे में आज बताने वाले हो, ठीक है. My advice is never use PPTs. Please stop using
Hmm.
them. Do not use the PPTs. This is not the ideal way of teaching somebody. Instead,
Hmm.
what I do is I just give them a task. Like, I don't tell them that this is your next topic. I simply say, just do one thing: create a 20 security groups,
Hmm.
and just create them within 2 minutes. And once
Hmm.
you do that, if you find some way to do this, bring it on me. This doesn't give them even a hint of what I'm going to talk. So they may end up creating some manual command, like they may use some bash script,
Hmm.
कुछ Python से some loop वगैरह करके.
Go
And
to
then when
three.
you
Yeah.
teach, yeah, they'll try to do something out of it. So this will generate some interest as well. That's a challenge. They might start creating all those 20 with a stopwatch, and they'll say, दो
Hmm.
मिनट बोला है सर ने, तो 2 मिनट में तो मैं बना दूंगा. And it's not possible to create that, right? uh,
Yeah.
at least very first time it's not possible to do that,
Hmm.
because you have to fill a description, you have to write all those inbound
Yes.
rules, and then do everything, the security group name. So it's impossible to create those 20s. So when you teach the next topic, you'll say, we're going to
Hmm.
read about IAC, infrastructure as a code, and
Hmm.
then show the value of that infrastructure as a code. Just tell them, how I do
Hmm.
it. I basically use something like Terraform. I can just
Hmm.
create a Terraform, a loop around it, and then I can create a security group. See, 2 minutes mein ban gaya. So this
Right.
is how they'll know the value of Terraform. If I simply go चलो आज Terraform के बारे में कुछ समझते हैं, then they'll say this is just another tool. This is not
Hmm.
giving any value. This is possible with cloud formation as well. But there
Hmm.
are cloud formation, its own working style, its own challenges, its own benefits. This will help them to understand, acha, there are two tools. With one tools, you can use interpolation syntaxes. This has some its own, benefits and challenges. Uh,
Right.
और एक और important चीज है शिशे that I would like to say is try to develop their IQ. उनकी प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट को समझना एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होता है. दिस इज
Hmm.
व्हाट आई फेस्ड अ लॉट. व्हाट आई हैव सीन इज व्हेन यू से आई नीड टू डू दिस, वी आर फेसिंग दिस प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है,
Right.
दे दे आर फ्रेशर्स यार, दे हैव जस्ट स्टार्टेड देयर कैरियर्स, एंड रियली important to tell them this is how you have to solve the problem. You cannot expect that they are going to Google and they'll get no response
Yeah.
there. They'll post somewhere on Stack Overflow and they'll get response within 6 days or 7 days. तब तक तो
Yeah.
डेडलाइन भी खत्म हो जाएगी. So I think I think this is not the right way to do it. Just try to develop them. Like when you teach something, teach them with some problem, right? Give them a problem that they have to think around it. ठीक है?
Right, right. The
Yeah.
part that you're saying about the IQ, I would like to dig deeper into that. But before that, let me first just address this thing that I think you have taken a very good example. Just give a trainee a challenge that they have to create 20 security groups inside AWS, right? So some people might struggle. Some would be able to figure out that this is possible using Python script. But after, you tell them to create 20 in 2 minutes, what if you say to create 200 in 2 minutes, right? Then I think the Python script might not work. So that's one avenue where they can learn that solutions need to be scalable, right? And
Right.
other thing is like Python, if it's a Python script, then there could be some issues, like there needs to be some error handling, right? How are you going to handle errors? So that's one avenue
Correct.
that they can learn by using this project based approach. And of course, then the smarter trainees would be able to figure out that I need to use some Terraform or Cloud Formation for these things. So I think this is a very good way to make people learn and make people think that how are you going to make a scalable and something which can handle errors. So that's a great example. And talking about the IQ part, I think this is one way to develop it, right? If person can think of the problems on their own, then they'll start to develop that IQ. That okay, if I'm developing something, it needs to have error handling. If I'm developing like a database, then it needs to be fault tolerant, it needs to be highly available. I think that's
Correct.
very interesting.
Correct.
So can you
Yes.
can you dig a little bit deeper about how you approach this? How do you try to create that IQ in a trainee?
My about they finish this Terraform code and they are about to give me a Terraform code, right? Probably they'll zip and try to email me or Slack me. I'll simply say, "Yaar, what if I need to make a change? I have to give you back in a zip file, and you guys are 20 in numbers. How can I do that? This is not
Hmm.
possible. So
Yeah.
you have to think something around it. This is not feasible. So they have to actually think around it. If trick is really working for them, they'll come up with something. I can use GitHub. I can use a Bitbucket. And then the moment they are going to share with me, let's say this is public, anybody can see your
Yeah.
code. This is
Right.
impossible. Share it privately with me. Then they have to
Right.
think something. Okay, I have to add this guy to this repository, and this is how they are going to look after a problem, frame problem in such a way that they'll fall into the trap. Those guys will say, we have created a containers in this, let's say we are learning Kubernetes and we have a lot of pods. And they'll say,
Right.
sir, we have created containers. Now what shall I do? This is exiting. I'll say, yaar, so this is a problem, na? Show me. And they'll say, acha, theek hai, CLI mein, sir, kubectl and then logs and then the pod name. And there are so many pods. How can I see the logs? They
Hmm.
may put all the logs in a file and then they are going to share with me. Again, that's a problem, right? They'll do that.
Hmm.
I said, just do one thing, just put this file, make some mechanism that these, text should go somewhere in a centralized place. That is how
Right.
value of something like ELK is going to show them. है ना?
Right.
So
Very interesting, sir. I think this model of just telling them how to solve problems, I can also make a PPT out of, Terraform or GitHub, say that these are the things that you can do. But it will never strike a trainee on how to start using them unless you give them a problem, right? So that's very interesting.
So this is my strategy. I
Sure.
usually do this to generate some interest. And since learning and share is important, then we can ask them to create certain documents. But what you did, use Confluence. This will help them to develop their IQ. And it is also important to have not just an IQ development in terms of technology, but as a person overall,
Hmm.
their attitude as well. If
Right.
something happens wrong, what has to be a reaction? When it's a panic situation, instead of yelling to each other and start doing a blame game, we have to teach them, try to develop their mental abilities. I think blaming is not a solution. Troubleshoot it, find it. In industry, we call it as an RC. We call it as a root cause analysis. Try to
Root
find
cause
a root
analysis.
cause, then write a few words and few paragraphs, and then give me back. So
Okay.
this is how we'll let them know. अच्छा problem के लिए RC use करते हैं ना कि हम blaming करते हैं. So
Right.
I think this helps overall mental ability development as well.
Got some really nice things that we got from it. One was learning by trapping. That's a very funny keyword, but it works. So everyone should try it at least once. And second is encouraging people to get on to a RCA. Great. Okay, sir. The last question for you now. So I, as a person, has never really worked in an office, right? I just went to office for 2 or 3 weeks, and I could not really meet the whole team as well. So how has collaboration and working style changed after COVID?
Okay. So see, post-COVID,
Mhm.
so actually this helped people to maintain a work-life balance. People who have started directly as a remote job might not be able to relate it, but traveling 2 hours and then coming back to office. I mean, the things are a bit hectic, but this has actually helped them to maintain a work-life balance. Now, many people will disagree. They'll say, no, we still work like 9 p.m. at night. But you think the other side of it. For example, have you ever thought like go to mountain and work from there? So
Hmm.
especially from the organization like SourceFuse where I come from, like these guys they offer something like work from mountain. Go and work from mountain for 2 weeks. Go with your whole family. They'll provide you accommodation and everything there, right? And this is pretty interesting. I think most of the organizations are. I hope more and more organizations are doing like work from anywhere. You might be working upside down with your bean bag in your home, or you are just laying around with your dog and you're working, you're trying to solve a problem. That really helps to freshen up your mind. If you feel this is not working, simply take a walk, go to a park and think
Hmm.
around it, and then come back and try to solve the problem. These things really help you. A coin has a two faces. So the downside is you have never met your team, right? The people emotions are really less. So the emotional attachment that bind me is when we physically meet and sit in front of each other and discuss something on a whiteboard, right? And we say, yes, this is good. Let's go for a tea. So this is something different versus sitting virtually over a screen and sharing a coffee. But
Yeah.
nowadays, my organization also, and I believe everybody might be doing this, they plan team meetings, right? People meet each other like for a week, they go for an outing, have that fun over a weekend, and then work over a week, and then they get back to their home and start working from there. That helps to develop that understanding among the team as well. The teamwork
Right.
start coming back from there. So this is how things are right now working, and I think the productivity has really gone up, especially in our organization case. The people have been really productive. As I said, there are a lot of downsides, right? So organizations are trying to solve them one by one across the world. They are trying
Hmm.
to figure out some solutions for any problem that people are facing. So
Hmm.
this is pretty much about what COVID, did to us.
Okay. This new work model is a work in progress, and there are positives and negatives as well. But I think the positives outweigh the negatives right now. That's my opinion, right? And I think you would agree since you are working from home as well. So, sir, if there's anything that you would like to address to our viewers, anything that you would like to say about this field, anything you would like to add, which I could not, ask you a question about, please feel free to do that.
I think, Shishir, you really carried out this interview in a fantastic way. I would
Thank
not
you.
say this is an interview, but it's more of a discussion, right?
Right.
The word interview is not right here. We had this very casually, and I think people who are listening to this or watching these videos, right? I think they might agree on many of the points, they might disagree on many of the points, but these are most of the personal opinions that I have. These opinions really does not apply globally to everybody, anybody, because organizations have their own challenges, their own problems, their own solutions to solve the things. But I think covered what challenges we have in this field, how I learned specifically the 15 minutes rule, and then what candidates are coming up with nowadays. As I said, the advice is to first understand what is this DevOps all about. I can speak whole day just with this word called DevOps. I feel this
Yes,
is an interesting conversation for people if they're listening it very carefully. So yeah, this is
absolutely,
pretty much
absolutely.
I think from my side. Let me know if I missed something and you have some concluding remark on this.
Okay. So my concluding remark would be that there are chances that you would agree or disagree with sir. Or the thing is that his experience and his perspective is quite interesting, as you would have got by now by his answers. So just take them, absorb them, and try to learn from them, and at least experiment with them. So that's all from my side. Thank you, sir, for joining this call. Thank you for giving such
Thank you, Shiv. This was
interesting
a fantastic
insights.
conversation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.